I'm not a good mother. 5 short words, yet powerful enough to shake the very foundations of a monarchy once thought unshakable. After Queen Elizabeth II passed away, a handwritten letter was discovered, not meant for the public, not crafted for the annals of history, but addressed straight to the heart of the son she had never truly embraced, Charles. In lines of trembling purple ink, the most powerful mother in the world finally admitted something the nation had never heard. That letter became a quiet storm within Charles, a newly crowned king, but in that moment merely a child who had never been comforted. Inside Clarence's house, conversations grew tense. Diverging views began to surface. Some within the royal circle insisted the legacy must be shielded in silence, while others believed the truth was the only path forward. But in a world where image is curated far more carefully than emotion, is there still room for a king willing to let his heart speak? The letter has been opened. And now the question remains, who will have the courage to let it be heard? The golden-orange hues of sunset stretch across the rolling hills of Balmoral, draping the ancient castle like a silken veil, a silent witness to centuries of royal history. Just weeks after Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, the air in the palace remains heavy, as if every stone and every door carries the weight of an irreplaceable loss. The United Kingdom is still enveloped in grief, mourning the passing of an icon, a queen who guided the nation through nearly a century of triumphs and turmoil. But in the quiet corridors of Balmoral, a long-buried secret is about to surface, threatening to shake not only the royal family, but the very legacy of Elizabeth II. Catherine, Princess of Wales, glides softly through the oak-paneled hallways, her delicate shoes barely whispering against the polished floors. With the tender heart of a mother and an instinct for empathy, she makes her way to the Queen's private reading room, a sacred sanctuary where Elizabeth often sought solace amidst the storms of duty. Catherine's intention is simple: to find an old book on Scottish history to read to George, Charlotte, and Louis before bedtime, a moment of normalcy in these somber days. But fate, like a masterful playwright, has scripted an entirely different scene, one that will forever alter how the world views the British monarchy. In the dimly lit room where towering bookshelves stretch to the ceiling and the faint scent of aged paper lingers, Catherine's fingers brush across leather-bound volumes. Her gaze catches on a shadowed corner, untouched by the chandelier's soft glow. There, nestled beneath a thin layer of dust, sits a small oak box, intricately carved with delicate patterns, as if waiting for her for decades. Catherine's heart quickens as she draws it out, a premonition, whispering that this is no ordinary keepsake. With trembling hands, she lifts the lid, revealing a golden silk lining, and at its center, a sealed envelope, its red wax bearing the royal crest. In the Queen's frail, trembling script, the words read, "To my son Charles." A chill races down Catherine's spine. She knows she's holding a sacred secret, one with the power to rock the monarchy and perhaps the world. The envelope in her hands is as fragile as a dried leaf, but heavy with the weight of a dynasty. She hesitates, her heart torn between reverence for Elizabeth's legacy and an irrepressible curiosity. Is this a truth the Queen meant to keep hidden forever, or one that demands to be brought into the light? With near reverent care, she breaks the wax seal, unfolds the letter, and the words written in purple ink emerge like a whisper from eternity. Charles, my beloved son. There are things I have never said, and perhaps will never find the courage to say in life. I have been a queen, but I have not been the mother you deserved. I am sorry from the depths of my heart for letting the throne stand between us. I was not a good mother. I loved you, but that love was buried beneath duties I could not escape. If you read these words, know that I have grieved for what you endured: a lonely childhood, a distant mother. I hope, though it is too late, that you can forgive me. Catherine sinks into a nearby velvet chair, tears silently streaming down her cheeks. The letter is not just a queen's confession, the untouchable symbol of Britain, but the broken-hearted cry of a mother trapped in the gilded cage of power. Each sentence, each word cuts like a knife into Catherine's soul. She pictures Charles, a lonely boy in a vast palace, a man carrying lifelong wounds and now a king at a crossroads. Keep this secret to protect his mother's legacy, or reveal it to heal his own heart and his family? Catherine realizes the letter is more than a story between Charles and Elizabeth. It's a chance for the royal family, often seen as cold and distant, to connect with the public. Sharing it could show that even the greatest icons have hearts that ache, but it risks undermining Charles's newly claimed throne. The truth of Elizabeth's distance might lead people to question his ability to lead, assuming a loveless childhood shaped a king too detached to connect with subjects in an era craving warmth and empathy. Catherine faces an agonizing choice: guard the secret to preserve the monarchy's stability, or give the letter to Charles, letting him confront his past and shape his future. In a small sitting room at Balmoral, Catherine hands the letter to Charles, the air between them thick with the weight of an approaching storm. Charles, his face etched with lines of weariness and eyes distant, takes the envelope without a word, his hands trembling faintly as if sensing the power of what he's about to read. Catherine watches him, her heart constricting. She wants to speak, to comfort, explain, or advise, but instead she bows her head and slips out, closing the door, leaving Charles alone with his past. Standing alone in the silent room, Charles opens the letter, each word piercing the armor he's built over 7 decades. He doesn't cry. Charles has never wept in front of anyone, not even in his darkest moments. But his hand grips the edge of the table, knuckles whitening as if anchoring a soul threatening to shatter. In that moment, he feels something new: love for the first time from the woman he revered most, yet who hurt him most deeply. At 73, a king with a crown, he is in this instant just a boy longing for his mother's embrace. The letter is more than an apology. It's the spark igniting a story of emotion, conflict, and reconciliation. The door to the past has swung open, and what lies ahead is a turbulent journey where every choice will shape not only Charles's fate, but the future of the British monarchy. Night falls over Clarence House, silent as a whisper. Not a sound stirs save for the steady ticking of an antique clock above the fireplace, echoing in Charles's study. He sits alone, bathed in the dim golden glow of a desk lamp, his weathered face casting shadows on the oak-paneled walls. Before him lies his mother's letter, carefully folded, but its purple-inked words are etched into his mind indelible. Each phrase, each sentence is a blade slicing into his heart, unearthing memories he spent 7 decades trying to bury. Charles closes his eyes and the past floods back, like an old film, faded yet painfully sharp. He sees himself, young Charles, with golden hair and hopeful eyes, standing in the vast hallways of Clarence House. The palace, with its ancient portraits and crimson carpets, was no home, but a cold labyrinth where he was raised by nannies and stewards. Elizabeth, his mother, was always consumed by endless state visits. When he was just 6 months old, she left for Kenya, entrusting her infant son to strangers. On her rare returns, Charles would rush to greet her, his young heart brimming with anticipation, only to receive a formal handshake, cold and distant, instead of a hug. "My son, he's very good at waving," Elizabeth once told the press when Charles was 5, her tone playful but laced with an unwitting detachment she didn't see. Those words, though, meant lightly seared into Charles's soul, like a reminder he was part of royal protocol, not a child to be cherished. As a teenager, the wounds deepened. Charles was sent to Gordonstoun, a harsh boarding school in Scotland, where icy North Sea winds swept through stone corridors. He ran in snow, bathed in cold water, and wrote diaries in Latin to warm his trembling spirit. In letters home, he called Gordonstoun a living hell, begging to return, but Elizabeth never intervened. She believed strength was the greatest gift she could give her son, but to Charles it was abandonment, proof that the throne mattered more than he did. "I don't remember my mother hugging me as a child. I don't blame her, but I remember," he once confided to a close friend, as recorded in Jonathan Dimbleby's biography. That quiet admission was the belated cry of a boy never comforted. Now his mother's letter lies before him, a key to a past he long locked away. Charles rereads each line, Elizabeth's voice echoing from beyond, fragile, sincere, and for the first time a mother's. He murmurs as if to himself, She knew I was lonely, knew I dreaded every state visit, standing at the airport, waving her off with a forced smile, knew I never slept in her arms, but she was the queen of an era, a nation, a century, and I was just her son, a small piece of the history she had to write with her life. Camilla enters, her footsteps soft as if not to disturb the silence. Her gaze falls on the letter, but she asks nothing. She knows Charles well enough to understand this moment belongs to him and his mother, not her. Her hand brushes his shoulder, a quiet gesture of comfort, heavy with meaning. Charles looks up, his eyes clouded with emotions he can't name. He places a hand on his chest where the letter now rests in his pocket and whispers as if vowing to himself, "If I'd heard these words sooner, perhaps I'd have been a better father, a better husband, a fuller man." Outside, dawn breaks over Balmoral's sky-cold light, filtering through the pines, carrying a faint glimmer of hope. The letter has reopened a wound, but also planted a seed of reconciliation, not just between Charles and his mother, but between him and himself, setting the stage for the conflicts, climaxes, and healing yet to come. In the flickering candlelight of a Kensington Palace drawing room, the afternoon tea takes on a stifling air, far from the usual royal elegance. Fine porcelain teacups sit untouched on the table, their steam curling lazily upward. Catherine, Princess of Wales, sits with her back, straight hands, clasped tightly over her pale blue silk dress. Her eyes alight with determination, yet softened by grace. Across from her is Charles, the newly crowned king, his face etched with weariness, his gaze distant, lost in a maze of memories and duty. Beside him sits Camilla, queen consort, her lips pursed, her sharp eyes seeming to pierce through every intention. Catherine, with a mother's tender heart and a modern woman's vision, believes Queen Elizabeth II's letter, her anguished confession of distance from Charles, must be shared. To her, it's not just a private tale of Charles and his mother, but a powerful human message capable of reshaping how the public sees the monarchy. It proves that even an untouchable icon like Elizabeth had shadows, regrets, and a heart that ached. Publishing the letter, Catherine believes, would be a turning point, drawing the royals closer to the people, transforming them from cold palace statues into flesh and blood humans who love and weep. She draws a deep breath, her voice gentle but resolute, like a stream flowing over stone. "Sir, this letter will show the world that Queen Elizabeth was a mother like any other, with common mistakes and the courage to admit them. The British people and the world will love her more for her honesty, and they will respect you for daring to share a truth that doesn't diminish you but makes you greater in their eyes." Charles listens, but his eyes remain fixed on the teacup before him. His fingers tremble slightly as if wrestling with an inner tempest. The letter has stirred emotions. He was never prepared to face the pain of a neglected boy, the longing for love and the awe for the woman who gave her life to the crown. Sharing the letter could free those pains, but it risks opening a Pandora's box, threatening the royal image he's just inherited. Before Charles can respond, Camilla, silent until now, cuts in. Her voice is icy, each word a carefully honed blade. "Do you want the nation to see a king abandoned by his mother, Catherine? Have you considered the consequences? This letter will revive comparisons to Diana, dredging up old wounds we've spent decades healing. Charles has just taken the throne. His position is fragile. We cannot let the public think him weak, or worse, a son resentful of his mother." Camilla leans forward, her gaze locking onto Catherine, as if daring her to back down. She's not just protecting Charles, but the monarchy's legacy, a legacy she's fought to uphold, despite years of criticism and scandal. To Camilla, the letter is a danger, a bomb that could shatter Elizabeth's pristine image and weaken Charles's reign from its outset. Catherine doesn't flinch. She meets Camilla's eyes, her blue gaze steady with resolve, her voice calm, honed by years of navigating pressure. "I don't want them to see a king abandoned, Your Majesty. I want them to see a son, a man with a heart. If we keep hiding the truth, living behind walls of protocol and image, we'll remain statues in a palace, not people." The public doesn't need a perfect monarchy. They need one that feels, loves, and makes amends. The room grows heavy, as if every breath is held captive. Servants in the corner bow their heads, avoiding the rising tension. Charles remains silent, his gaze now drifting to the window where Kensington's trees sway in a gentle breeze. He's caught between two forces, Catherine's compassionate heart urging him to face his past, and Camilla's sharp reason, warning of risks unforeseen. The clash between Camilla and Catherine doesn't erupt into a loud argument. That's not the royal way. But it draws a clear battle line like ink traced invisibly. One side fights for emotion and truth, ready to tear down protocol's walls for change. The other defends power and image, determined to keep the monarchy an unshakable symbol amid public storms. This war, though silent, smolders like embers beneath ash, waiting for a spark to ignite. In the stillness of Windsor Castle's night, the glow from a small drawing room's fireplace dances across ancient stone walls, casting shadows like memories of old. William, Prince of Wales, sits across from his father Charles in a rare moment, unbound by protocol or public eyes. The firelight highlights the lines on Charles's face deepened since the discovery of Queen Elizabeth II's letter. William, with a warm heart and the wisdom of his own losses, knows this is when his father needs him most, not as a prince, but as a son. William understands his father's pain, a son yearning for a mother's love, met only with the throne's cold distance. He empathizes with Camilla, whom he's never fully warmed to, but respects for prioritizing the monarchy's stability, not just for Charles, but for the legacy she's fought to protect. Yet he also sees Catherine's vision: the monarchy must evolve, become relatable, not just a symbol, but humans who love, hurt, and forgive. William's role in this emotional storm is as a bridge between sides, and he steps into it with sincerity and resolve. He clears his throat, breaking the silence. His voice is warm like a breeze through Windsor's forest. I waited for a hug from you too, but I know you never got one from her. I grew up in palaces, but like you, I felt alone in crowds. Sharing this letter isn't weakness, Dad. It's how you build a bridge of feeling something our family never had. You'll be more than a king. You'll be a father, a son, a man that people can reach. Charles doesn't reply immediately. He stares into the fire, his eyes drawn to the glowing embers, as if they hold answers to questions he's carried lifelong. William's words, simple yet profound, touch a hidden corner of his soul. Charles recalls his years as a father, the times he struggled to show love to William and Harry, letting royal duties overshadow family. He wonders, did I repeat my mother's mistakes? Did I let the throne stand between me and my sons? Suddenly, Charles reaches out, placing his hand on William's. The gesture, small, carries the weight of decades. It's not a king's handshake to a prince, but a father's touch to a son, a rare, simple moment, rich with meaning. William smiles faintly, sensing a shift in his father, however small, amid the darkness. I can't promise it'll be easy. Sir William continues, his voice now tinged with urgency. But I believe this letter is a chance to change, not just for our family, but for the nation. The people don't need a perfect king. They need one who faces his pain, and through it helps them face theirs. Charles nods almost imperceptibly. He hasn't decided yet, but William's words have planted a seed in his mind, a seed of courage, of hope, that he can be a different king, a different father. That night, as William leaves, Charles lingers by the fire, the flames fading. But within him, a new spark kindles, a flame of reconciliation, not just with his mother, but with himself. The fragile peace cloaking the royal family shatters like a mirror dashed against stone. In the days following Catherine's discovery of Queen Elizabeth II's letter, the atmosphere at Balmoral seems frozen, each royal grappling privately with this earth-shaking secret. But fate, in its cruel irony, refuses to let the secret rest in shadow. On a dreary morning at Balmoral, a young archivist tidying the Queen's reading room stumbles upon the original letter. Perhaps left behind by Charles after a late-night reading, it lies exposed among old books, its broken red wax seal and trembling purple script unmistakable. Driven by irresistible curiosity, the archivist skims the words, his heart pounding as he grasps their weight. Whether spurred by a thirst for fame or youthful impulsiveness, he pulls out his phone, snaps a brief excerpt, and sends it to a freelance reporter for a British tabloid notorious for royal scandals. Within 24 hours, the world erupts. The letter's image, though only a fragment, spreads like wildfire across dry grass. Sensational headlines flood every outlet, from reputable papers to online forums. Queen Elizabeth apologizes to Charles' secret letter, rocks the monarchy, The Guardian. Queen's late regret. Charles lived a motherless childhood. BBC British monarchy reels from Elizabeth's letter. The Times on X, the letter trends globally. Public opinion splits sharply like rivers diverging. One side is moved, hailing the letter as proof that even Britain's iciest icon had a heart. A user writes, "The Queen was human. This letter made me cry, a late apology, but so powerful." Emotional posts flood social media, with millions sharing stories of unspoken apologies in their own families. But the other side no less fierce attacks mercilessly. They call the leak accidental or not a betrayal of Queen Elizabeth II, exposing her distance from her children and damaging Charles's credibility as a new king. A Sun editorial asks harshly, can Charles be a strong king, or will he remain a child craving a mother's love, unable to step from her shadow? Some go further, dubbing it the monarchy's greatest scandal of the century, likening it to the tempest that engulfed Charles in the 1990s over Diana. At Clarence House, the media storm strikes the royal family's core. Camilla, with her fierce resolve and instinct to shield the monarchy's image, is nearly incandescent with rage. She summons an emergency meeting with press advisors, demanding an investigation into the leak and severe punishment for the culprit. In her mind, Catherine is the prime suspect. Her simmering distrust fueled since their Kensington tea convinces her Catherine with her push to publicize the letter, either deliberately or carelessly let it slip. In a rare lapse of composure, Camilla confronts Catherine in a Clarence House corridor, her voice sharp as a blade. "What have you done? Catherine, did you think letting the world dissect Charles's pain would help him? This is the consequence of your naivety." Catherine, stunned by the accusation, holds her composure. Her eyes blaze with resolve, but her voice remains soft, aiming to douse the flames. "I didn't do this, Your Majesty. I wanted the letter shared, yes, but not like this. I wanted it done with respect, not turned into a scandal. But if we keep blaming each other, we'll only make things worse." Camilla's suspicion doesn't soften, and the already fragile bond between the monarchy's two most powerful women frays further. William, caught in the crossfire, refuses to stand idle. In a private talk with Camilla, he defends his wife, his voice low but firm. Catherine didn't do this. She'd never let a family secret fall to the press. But if we keep doubting each other, we'll destroy this family before the papers can. We need unity, not division. Charles, amidst the media tempest, maintains a chilling silence. He locks himself in his Clarence House study, the desk lamp's light, accentuating his deepened wrinkles. The letter now in his pocket is both a talisman of comfort and a reminder of unhealed wounds. He rereads its lines, seeking strength from Elizabeth's words, the woman who taught him that kingship often means bearing pain in silence. But Charles knows his silence cannot last forever. The pressure from the public and media weighs on Charles like a monolithic stone. Each day brings fresh headlines, fiercer debates, and sharper whispers in the palace halls. Charles, though seasoned by decades of media storms, finds himself at an unprecedented crossroads: stay silent, letting the public judge freely, or speak out and shape the narrative himself. After sleepless nights, Charles chooses action. He arranges an informal gathering at St. James's Palace, no live cameras, no royal pomp. Only a select group of reporters is invited alongside close family Catherine, William, and Camilla. No one knows what Charles will say, and that mystery charges the room with the tension of an impending storm. Charles steps to the podium, no royal robe, no crown, just a man in a gray suit, his mother's letter in his pocket. He scans the room, his gaze lingering briefly on Catherine, seated in the front row, her eyes offering silent encouragement. William sits beside her, holding her hand, a quiet vow to stand by her no matter what. Camilla, her face stern, nods slightly as if acknowledging this is Charles's moment. When he speaks, his voice is low but rich with emotion, like a slow river carrying decades of weight. "There are things we wait a lifetime to hear, like an apology. My mother was an icon, a great queen, who led this nation through its darkest hours. But she was also a mother, a woman with silent pains and regrets she dared only write when she knew her time was short. Her letter is not weakness, but courage to admit fault, to love, though it was too late. I don't keep it to myself, because if she was brave enough to speak, I must be brave enough to listen and to share." He pauses, drawing a deep breath, as if summoning strength from his mother's words. The room is utterly still, not a cough, not a whisper. Every eye is fixed on Charles, as if witnessing history, not of a king, but of a son facing his past. "This letter isn't to judge my mother or dim her legacy. It's proof that even the greatest have moments of frailty, and those moments make them greater. I hope by sharing this story we can learn to forgive, not just each other, but ourselves." Catherine, in the front row, gazes at Charles with warmth, as if saying, "You did right." Tears slip silently down her cheeks, not from sorrow but pride. William grips her hand tighter, nodding faintly. his heart swelling with respect for his father. Camilla, though not fully on board with Charles's choice, bows her head in quiet respect. She sees that despite her fears, Charles has chosen his path, a son's path, not just a king's. Though no cameras broadcast live, a covert recording of the speech leaks online within hours. It becomes the defining moment of Charles's reign, not through royal ceremony or formal address, but through a rare sincerity, a man letting his heart speak. On social media, Britons and the world call it the heart speech, and for the first time in decades, Charles is not a distant king, but a man the people feel they can touch. London's sky, a deep sapphire, stretches over the city on an early autumn morning. Gentle breezes carry the breath of a new season, as if to soothe the wounds the royal family has endured. The media storm over Queen Elizabeth II's letter subsides, but its echoes linger not just in palace corridors, but in the hearts of millions across Britain and beyond. The letter, with its trembling purple script and royal wax seal, has become a historic milestone, not for shaking the throne, but for melting the icy walls around the monarchy, revealing a real family with scars, love, and late but meaningful apologies. Charles keeps the letter in a small, worn leather wallet, meticulously cared for, like a treasure beyond price. Beside it is a rare photo of his mother, not the queen in crown or robes, but Elizabeth, a woman standing under a Balmoral tree, silver hair catching the wind, her smile radiant, free in a simple moment. Late at night, when the world sleeps, Charles quietly opens the wallet, gazing at her smile and rereading the words he knows by heart. It's more than a letter, it's proof he was loved, however late, and that he has forgiven. Camilla, once fiercely against sharing the letter, finds peace in Charles's choice. She sees it wasn't weakness, but a bold step to redefine his role, not just a king, but a man facing his past. One quiet evening at Clarence's house, as firelight glows on her face, Camilla sits beside Charles, her hand brushing his. Her voice, usually sharp and firm, softens to a whisper. "I didn't fully understand, Charles. I feared the letter would hurt you, hurt all we've built. But I respect your choice, and I'm here, as I always am, by your side." Catherine, through her role in bringing the letter to light, emerges as a new icon in British hearts. She didn't outmaneuver Camilla with power or cunning, but with kindness and unwavering faith in truth's power. Social media dubs her the monarchy's heart, and images of her quietly holding William's hand during Charles's speech are shared millions of times, a symbol of unity and hope. Catherine, seeking no glory, becomes a beacon, lighting the monarchy's path into a new era. The story closes with William's words in a rare BBC interview at Kensington Palace's White Garden. Under autumn's gentle sun, William sits on a wooden bench, his eyes shining with pride and emotion as he speaks of his father. "My father waited a lifetime to be a son, to hear an apology, to feel his mother's love. Her letter changed everything. It didn't just heal his wounds, it made him a better father, not just to me, to Harry, but to this country. He showed us that being a king isn't just wearing a crown, it's daring to open your heart to forgive and to love." William looks to the sky, where white clouds drift softly as if carrying Elizabeth's soul, now at peace. The monarchy under Charles's reign enters a new chapter, no longer cold statues in palaces, but a true family, scars still visible, but mended with embraces, late apologies, and hearts that love. Beneath London's sapphire sky, the letter's story doesn't end, but opens a future where the monarchy and its people write new pages together, rich with emotion and humanity. Does this story inspire you to forgive past wounds in your own family? And what do you think of a monarchy that dares to open its heart, becoming a symbol not just of power, but of humanity?